The culture feels weak right now. And if you can feel that, if something inside you is bothered by it, you're not crazy, you are awake, right? You see men simping online, promiscuity treated like it's normal, everyone walking on eggshells, terrified to say what they actually think. And the hardest part, other men just accept it. They go along with it, they participate in it. Meanwhile, you're sitting there feeling frustrated, maybe even angry, thinking that someone needs to stand up and actually say something. But then another thought shows up, like, who am I to speak? I haven't read the Bible cover to cover. I still get distracted by worldly things. I'm still figuring this out myself, right? And here's the thing that I'm learning is that being a man of God in a weak culture, it doesn't mean that you're perfect. It just means that you refuse to stay silent. And today I want to talk to you about, what that could actually look like. Not some sanitized version, not the be nice and don't offend anyone version, the real version. So I'll be honest with you, I've been really annoyed. I look around and it feels like the world has just gone soft. I see men who've completely lost their backbone, men that are normalizing things that, a few decades ago would have just shocked everyone. And what really gets to me is the pressure to stay quiet. The tension between knowing I should stand firm and feeling like I need to keep my head down so that I don't, cause any problems. There's always this internal battle, between staying comfortable and standing for what I actually believe. And the truth is, I'm actually making these videos because, staying silent started to feel like surrender. Maybe you feel the same way. So let me say something plainly. The culture is weak because men stopped standing. We live in a time where responsibility is avoided, conviction is rare. Men scroll, consume, and compromise instead of standing for truth. We bend to whatever is trending, and it's being normalized. If you say something is wrong, you're the problem. You're judgmental, you're toxic, you're outdated. So most men just stay quiet. You see it in relationships where men won't lead because they're like afraid of being called controlling. You see it in workplaces where men won't speak up because they're afraid of, losing their job or opportunities. You see it online where men just throw away their dignity, chasing validation. And the rest of us just watch and say nothing because speaking up actually feels risky. But here's why this matters. So when a man actually stops standing, everything collapses. Families weaken, communities weaken, culture weakens. Because men were designed to lead and protect and take responsibility. And when we abandon that role, chaos just fills the gap. Now you might be thinking like, okay, I'm just one guy, I can't change the culture. And well, you're right. You can't change the culture, but you can refuse to conform to it. And that's where it starts. So what does it actually mean to be a man of God? Because I think a lot of us, grew up with a watered down version. Somewhere along the way, biblical manhood got softened into, be nice, don't make waves, and never confront anything. But listen to Corinthians 16:13-14. It says, be on your guard, stand firm in faith, be courageous, be strong, do everything in love, but stand firm, be courageous, be strong. Those are the commands. Being a man of God doesn't mean being soft. It means being strong with purpose. It means standing for truth even when it's uncomfortable. Leading even when you don't really feel like it. Refusing to compromise just to keep the peace. And yes, doing it with love, not arrogance, not anger, conviction. The world doesn't need more soft men. It needs more godly men. Men who don't know what they The world doesn't need more soft men, it needs more godly men. Men who know what they believe and aren't afraid to stand on it. And if that makes you uncomfortable, maybe that discomfort is a calling. But here's some big question most of us wrestle with. Like, who am I to stand? Who am I to stand firm when, I don't have it all together? This thought hits me like every time. Like, who am I to talk about faith when I'm still learning? Who I am, to speak when I'm still struggling? That voice, in your head needs to be perfect before you can stand. And that voice keeps telling men to be silent. But look at the Bible. David committed adultery and murder, yet God called him a man, after his own heart, because he kept returning to God. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, yet Jesus used him to build the church. You don't have to be perfect to stand firm. You just have to be willing. The world doesn't need more perfect men. It needs more faithful men. Men who show up even when they feel unqualified. But we need to be honest about something. Standing firm will cost you. You might lose, approvals. You might lose opportunities or comfort. I've already felt the pressure to soften my words, to stay quiet, because speaking up feels risky. But staying silent costs more. When you stay silent, you lose your integrity, you lose self-respect, you slowly lose the man you're meant to become. And Jesus said in Matthew 32-33 that whoever acknowledges him before others will be acknowledged before the Father. That's a line in the sand. Standing firm will cost you, but staying silent costs you your identity. And standing firm doesn't mean being angry or hateful. Scripture says to do everything in love. Love doesn't mean compromise. Love means telling the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Jesus flipped tables. He confronted heresy. He spoke the truth that people didn't want to hear. He did it in love. That's the model. When you embrace this, something changes. You stop waiting until you're qualified. You stop letting letting fear silence you. You stop trying to blend in. So you can start standing firm even when you're scared. Speaking truth even when it's risky. Leading even when you don't feel ready. You're not perfect, not flawless, but faithful. So even if you're frustrated with, how weak the culture is, if you're tired of staying silent, then maybe it's time to stand. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to stand firm. Be courageous, be strong, and do it in love. So next time you're not an accident, God's design. So in our next video, remember that you're not an accident. God's design for man. So be courageous and do everything with love. Okay? And if you guys made it to the end of this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.